Oi, the difference between old and new generation is one thing: tradition and the willingness to change. You see, the old generation is not willing to change. Old and new generation always collide because the old generation is hell bent on a rigid form of living, and philosophies, ideas about love, work, you know, always, oh, this generation is lazy. This generation is crazy. Each generation thinks the next one is crazy, you see. But if there's only one difference, if all this can be boiled down to what is the difference between each generation, it's just a difference in psyche or a difference in traditions. And traditions are in psychological, all of them. The old generation is unwilling to change. They're very rigid minded. The new generation, some of them are very creative and progressive in their ideas, and they live lives very loosely, you know, experimental, so to speak. And the old generation sort of don't want to let go. They're hell bent on tradition. And what is tradition? The unchanging of ideas. What are the young people saying, or the new generation that eclipse the old one? We must change these things. We must change our ways of looking at this. We might change how we approach this. And they bring into effect new issues that were overlooked before. But the old generation will be fighting against it all, in a way, standing in a way, literally. And almost every time they always stand in the way. And this could be seen in Australia. Believe it or not, it's kind of very religious. Back then, when we were in high school, there was this referendum, sort of a vote to have same-sex marriage. Some of the people holding back was a mixture of all generation and sprinkled with a few new of the new generation that are very pious and religious. But it was the old generation that was fighting back, and it was the reason. That's why we had the referendum, because the old generation was uh, was not sold on the idea of a man and a man, or a woman and a woman having a certificate and being uh, called marriage. They were having issues with that title, marriage. You see, and what is that? Tradition. They saw their tradition was being challenged, and now man and a man can be married, and that would be called marriage and legalized, and it will be recognized, you know. And so they were fighting against that, the changing of traditions. They were very rigid in their mindset, and so the government could not just pass the law; it had to be voted on. You see, that's the difference between the old and new generation. As an example, in recent time,